Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of racing in the one and only Middle of the Pack Racing League, falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by our parody sponsor, the Dentistry Conference World Tour for 2024. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we've charged our way into the fourth round of the championship in the falling into LMP3 Championship Series, and we're here today in France for the one and only Le Mans circuit, 9 in full as the circuit does 24 hours de Mans, to see history being made on the historical circuit. As coming at the end of today, 3 of our drivers will need to be crowned the Stage 1 Cup champions, one of which in each of the classes, whether it be Pro, Prime or Am. Of course, this is a circuit that arguably needs no introduction, but we need to give it one anyway. And spanning the best part of 8.5 miles and 33 corners, is a circuit that weaves together what is a mixture of public roads and purpose-built track surfaces in order to create an absolutely brutal onslaught on the senses. With over 75% of the lap being full throttle, this is a circuit whereby drivers and machines will be put through the ultimate stamina draining test, with the majority of the braking zones being heavy, and seeing our drivers descend from in excess of 160 miles an hour to in the region of approximately 50 to 70 miles an hour, and in doing so time and time again, he'll put the utmost strain on suspension, brakes and tyres, and that'll be something that our drivers will need to manage and plenty more as they look to chase the checker flag today. Indeed, there's many a famous quote saying that you don't win at Le Mans, you outlast it, and who will be the drivers to outlast it the best as they reach that checker flag to become our Stage 1 Cup champions? Well, as we welcome you all to this live broadcast, this post-round broadcast, of course, we are taking a look back at all the racing action which occurred earlier this week on what was Wednesday the 25th of September 2024. We're bringing it to you as if it were live today, this fine Saturday the 28th of September, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in. Now, you can be tuning in via one of 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, you can be tuning in via YouTube at youtube.com and search for TX141 at TX, alternatively Paul Walsh, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube. Alternatively, you could be tuning in via Twitch at this point in time, and that's at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch, including Lucasfilm2346 there, and good afternoon to you, Lucas. I hope you're doing well. But as we welcome you all to this broadcast, of course, who is in the commentator booth? Who is TX141? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm your host and commentator for this season. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will bring you all the racing action. And speaking of which, our schedule for today, times in British summertime, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1, is as follows. There's no qualifying session today. There's only a one and only feature race, and that, or endurance race as it's known in full, will be at 5:15 today in approximately 10 minutes time. But as we get set and ready to go, well, of course, let's give you the recap of the season so far and what is still lying in wait. Or as we can see, we're now towards the end of the Stage 1 Cup. We're in round 4 of 8. We made our way here through 3 absolutely brilliant rounds. Started off, of course, with round number 1 in Belgium at the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps. There, a recently refurbished Belgian circuit on the 4th of September. We got to see plenty and battle up and down the grid, and particularly in the Pro class, where in the end, it would be Dominic Ford who would take home victory in the Pro class, albeit not without being chased by many of his rivals along the way. In round number 2, we made our way to Spain for the outer loop of Motorland Aragon, and there at the highly technical Spanish circuit on the 11th of September, we got to see many of our drivers do battle through the multitude of sweeping corners and also on that extensive back straight, and it was Shajee Zuhair in particular who absolutely ran away proceedings in the AM class, and we also got to see an absolutely incredible drive from Jaden Calloway in the Pro class and overall, who took victory by over 10 seconds. But last time out in round number 3 at Imola in Italy, we got to see a very different story on the 18th of September, whereby in the Prime class in particular, we got to see a brilliant set of drives from Matthew Quinton and Wesley Griffith, and in the AM class we saw the continued dominance of Shajee Zuhair, and in the Pro class meanwhile we saw Jaden Calloway fall by the wayside, with James Logsdon's consistency putting him ever close, and we also got to see David Adeyeye put together an absolutely stellar performance. So we make our way into round number 4, and of course the French circuit Le Mans plays host today. But after today, into the Stage 2 Cup we'll go, albeit with a mid-season break or a week, and we'll return for the racing action to kick off the Stage 2 Cup on the 9th of October with the first of 3 sprint race rounds at the Interlagos circuit, also known as the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Then we'll make our way from Brazil to the United States of America for the Circuit of the Americas, the COTA circuit in the US state of Texas. That'll be on the 16th of October. And after doing the Texas two-step, we'll make our way to Japan across the Pacific Ocean for our penultimate round, our final sprint race round of the season. And that'll be at the Fuji International Speedway on the 23rd of October, before we bring it all to a close by returning to mainland Europe for the Portimao circuit in Portugal. And that'll be our second and final feature race round on the 30th of October, round 8 of 8, where we bring the curtain down and crown not just our Stage 2 Cup champions, but also our overall Drivers' Champions and what is our Team's Champions at that. But coming into today then, let's tell you a little bit about the standings after 3 rounds of racing. And as we can see, with all instants accrued and accounted for, starts off with the Pro Drivers' Championship. Jaden Calloway leads by only 2 points over James Logsdon, with Calloway's advantage going into round number 3 being cut to pieces as a result of a difficult day of performances in Italy for him. Meanwhile, James Logsdon, David Adeyeye keeping him honest and keeping close. And Logsdon in particular, who hasn't picked up a win so far this season, but has done incredibly well through consistency to be only 2 points off the championship leader. David Adeyeye, meanwhile, sits a further 12 points behind, but don't count him out. The ITT West driver putting on some absolutely sensational performances and has really started to find his feet in the pro class and is only 2 points clear of Tanner Dibble. Jordan Butler wraps up the top 5 behind his DNA Motorsports teammate. Then it's only a further point to Edwin Offred with that absolutely brilliant drive to victory last time out at Imola, and indeed running the red and black livery at a circuit which is why the home circuit's a Ferrari. You could not have made up a more poetic story. With Eric Nickens a further 2 points behind, then Christian De Soto, Julian Jones and Dominic Ford complete your top 10. With Kyle Moraes in P11, 10 points clear of Carl Ranieri. There's John Lauzon and Jason Anchi who complete the championship standings. We then come to the Prime class, and here we can see the complexion is a little bit different. We have had the promotion of Shajee Zuhair from Am to Pro-Am as a result of his performances over the first 3 rounds, and congratulations to him on being promoted. That is a huge accolade, and it's something he should wear as a badge of honour, the fact he's been promoted to the Pro-Am class. And while he's also been a step ahead of the majority of the Pro-Am class, whilst being in the Am class, it must be said, as with his performances and points adjusted for the Prime finishing positions, he is the leader by the best part there of 23 points. And can anybody put a stop to his dominance today? Well, Matthew Quinton and Wesley Griffith, both on 92 points, would have something to say about that. But will they find themselves in their own intricate battle for P2? For Garrett Chavez, only a third point behind, and it's a third point to Tom Bryce. It's a four-way fight for second, it would seem, unless Zuhair finds himself having a difficult day today at Le Mans. Outside the top 5, a further 10 points away, is Mark Senegal, who was promoted, of course, from the Am class to the Prime class as a result of his performances in the Am Championship for the Formula 4 Series beforehand, and he finds himself on the coattails of the top 5 and is doing extremely well. However, the challenge will come from Justin Delano, there's no doubt about that, further 11 points behind, and Jermaine Warren, Justin Bragan and Jacob Wally complete the top 10. P11 on 47 points, the best part of 12 outside the top 10 is Nick Bader, ahead of Matt Best, with Jake Gertson and Aaron Lahr completed the championship standings. We then come to the Am class, and we can see the Am class is jointly led by 2 big names. Ethan Rolfe being one of them, the other also on 89 points, Joseph Lamel, and it is a battle between these two. Albeit, don't rule out MP3, one of the drivers there of Braden Melling, on 83 points, on the fact that he has got an outside chance to potentially take the Am Championship Cup for the Stage 1 Cup off of the 2 leaders. However, he's going to need to go some, and both Rolfe and Blamel are going to need to drop some major points today. Meanwhile, in P4, quite a mileage away in terms of 22 points, it's Alexander Frezelone, who'll be looking to set himself up with some great momentum today to go into the second half of the championship, ahead of Glenn Bratton by a single point, and the same for S. Edward Irving. Aaron Tiggett sits P7 ahead of Cole Peterson, who in turn is only ahead of Roger Ganesh based on result countback, and Navra Kumar completes your top 10, with Tim Chong a further 5 points behind in P11. There's Jesse Jameson Jr., Jason Seelin, Todd Miller and Kurt Smith, who complete your Am Championship standings. We then come to the Teams Championship, and here we can see ITT West are starting to carve out a lead for themselves by the best part of 32 points over DNA Motorsports, and they really have been the team to beat all season so far. Meanwhile, in the hunt for P2, it's only 3 points between DNA Motorsports and ITT West JMT, with the ITT West teams looking to make it 1-2 before the end of today. And then it's Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs in P4, as they lead the fight for what is just outside of the podium positions by a single point over Photon Clan, and then we have a further 2 points to what is their team Bear Pope. Behind them in P7, it's Kind of Fast Racing team, had some brilliant performances at Imola, it must be said, and Sunday GT Turtles sit the best part of 41 points behind them in P8, just ahead of middle of the pack Racing, and Vice Motorsports complete your top 10. Breakfast for dinner, sit P11. Then second breakfast, Caboose Crew and Slipstream Sloths, who complete your team's championship standings. But coming from our teams then to our circuit for today, it is of course the Circuit des 24 Heures du Mans, and a little bit of trivia for you if you're wondering why we're labelling this variant of the circuit number 15. Since it was raced on all the way back in 1923, there have been 15 revisions of the 24 Heures du Mans circuit, also known as Le Mans in short in reference to local city, and well, we are racing on the 15th revision of it, having been in place since 2018, and that's why if you are looking for an official name for this circuit in terms of its variant, it is known as circuit number 15. But with the little specific anorak items out the way, of course this circuit located in the department of Sarthe in the Pays de la Loire region of France is a circuit like no other when it blends together the extensive straights of the Mulsanne and also the run all the way from Mulsanne Corner to Indianapolis, and also the wonderful Porsche curves, the purpose-built track that makes its way all the way out towards the Ford chicanes via the Corvette curves to complete lap. And thank you to iRacing for their brilliant circuit map and the fantastic simulator, of course, that the track maps are all part of. But what better way to bring this circuit map to life than a reference lab than from our pro driver Jason Landry, and let's jump on board. As he takes us around a very cloudy circuit when this lap was recorded, making his way through Dunlop Curve and keeping the car over to the left-hand side, but straight line initially before turning into the apex. Fifth gear all the way out to the braking zone of the Dunlop chicane, going all the way down to second gear as he goes left into right. Exit out turn number 3, it's a flat-out run now underneath the Dunlop Bridge and into the S's via the left-hander at turn number 5. Downhill go through the S's of 6 and 7, where here it's all about balancing the car as he trail brakes his way into left-hander and then immediately looks to go full throttle through turn number 8 to set up the run to Tetra Rouge. The right-hander here, a corner that's very hard to get right, but he does absolutely perfectly in doing so as he makes his way on through there, and as he builds up the speed and heads onto the first part of the Mulsanne. Well, now he's got a bit of breathing room as his machine will make its way up to top gear, and he'll push it upwards in excess of 160 miles an hour. Now making its way down the Mulsanne, originally the Mulsanne straight was a singular straight. It's been broken up into 3 parts over recent years due to the fact the speeds that were being reached by the Le Mans prototype machine. We saw them having enough air come underneath the car to launch them into the stratosphere, reaching in excess of 200 miles an hour. But not to be here today as he breaks his way into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes, right, left, right as he makes his way through in third gear and immediately flat out now as he goes into the second part of the Mulsanne straight. Of course, this straight is going to be the scene of plenty of back and forth battling between drives and plenty of fuel saving, we suspect, over the course of the race distance. We'll have to wait and see who is going to get it right on the strategy today when we talk a little bit about what strategies we can expect. As he heads down towards the second of the Mulsanne chicanes, we'll find here as he heads into a bit more of the local forestry, golf course being on the right turn right now, is that it's all now about a much tighter apex in the second chicane as he trail brakes down the gearbox into third gear and then to second at the right-hander before going flat out now through the left-hander to complete the chicane and onwards towards Mulsanne Corner. Flat out he'll charge once again as he heads down towards Mulsanne Corner. This is all about straight lining across the king and braking hard for the hard hairpin as he brings the car over to the right hand side initially, but I suspect he'll gradually lean a little bit over to left shortly in order to position the car and point himself in, and he does exactly that as he now makes his way for the right hand king. Onto the brakes he'll go on the curb, and as he does so bringing it all the way down to second gear. Nice early apex there, and now immediately back on the throttle as he roars his way from Mulsanne down towards Indianapolis. Now here it's an uninterrupted straight with 2 kinks in terms of right-handers, and this is where we can expect plenty of 2-3 wides, so our drivers look to jostle position as they make their way towards the Indianapolis complex. But of course the first kink already complete, and now through the second kink underneath the Toyota hybrid billboard and getting ready for Indianapolis. A fast right followed by a sharp left as he'll head into the right-hander looking for his brake marker, which will be after the 100-meter board, and we'll hear it's just going to be a lift off the throttle and then hard onto the brakes. Comes down from 6th gear to 3rd gear, immediately feeds the throttle back in for the short run towards Arnage, arguably the trickiest corner on the circuit to get right, given you brake at the 100-meter board and down to 1st gear, and you want to let the car run out wide to pick up speed, but not too much to avoid the tyre barrier, and now he'll make his way up towards the Porsche curves and another flat out run. You can see the point here of over 75% of the lap being full throttle as he now gets ready for the high speed serpentine section, which is absolutely beautiful to watch as a spectator and wonderful to drive as a driver as he heads in towards the opening right-hander, braking here about 50 meters to a quarter apex down to 5th gear, and now through the double left-hander, flat-out commitment all the way through as he carries into the second part of the double left complex, now switching back into the right-hander here to go into the Corvette curves, 4th gear before stamping on the brakes in order to set the car up to go into the left-hander, and now flat out all the way as he makes his way in towards the Ford chicanes. We'll be on the right hand side, you'll see the pit lane entry, and he'll use that in order to open up the reins of the first of the 2 Ford chicanes here, mount the entry curve, and as he does so, drop it for fifth to third gear as fast as he can, and now onto the brakes once again, down to second gear as he glides between the two chicane apexes to complete the lap, and that is a lap of Le Mans by Jason Landry. But coming on to our rules for today, of course, we can't go racing without them. Drivers are running a fixed setup as provided by the Middle of the Pack Racing League with fuel loads restricted to 50 litres. The race shall start by a rolling start, as has been the tradition of the rule set for this league all season long, and the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. As this is a feature race round or an endurance race today, the grid order shall be a class reverse grid based on the latest Drivers' Championship standings. So those Championship standings you saw before we got to the reference lap, we will be reversing the grid in class order based on those. So whoever's the lowest placed in each class, they start on pole, and whoever's the championship leader or the highest placed in class, they start at the back of their respective class grouping. And the classes shall start in the order of Pro, Prime and AMS. So the Pros will start at the front of the field, the Primes in the middle, and the AMS at the rear of the field, and each driver has 2 fast repairs available, and the safety car shall not be deployed at any point during the race. This decision was taken by the administration team in the build-up to the racing, given the fact that whilst we would normally have a safety car for these longer races in case there are any major incidents, given the length of lap round here, it would bite into our 50-minute race time. We would lose approximately 5 to 10 minutes behind the safety car per lap, and that's not something we want to see happen, and therefore our drivers need to be extra cautious and not end up in any major shunts or incidents. That's enough rules and regulation, everything between. We're here for the racing, no doubt about it, and so you guys and girls in the audience, and well, as our drivers make the way to the grid, we can't quite walk you through the grid due to limitations of this iRacing replay file, but what we can do as we ride aboard there, Jason Landry starts at pole, is look to the blimp view, and well, as that grid makes its way into formation, we can take you through how they're going to line up, and well, they are going to line up as follows, ladies and gentlemen. And it will be Jason Landry who starts on overall and pro pole, with John Logsdon joining him on the front right of the grid. We'll then have Kyo Moraes, who starts P3 ahead of Dominic Ford, with Julian Jones and Christian De Soto on row number 3, Eric Nickens and Edwin Noffret on row number 4, and then we'll see the top 10 completed by the DNA Motorsports pair Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble. David Adeyeye and James Logsdon start on row number 6, and then your championship leader in the pro class going into today, Jaden Calloway, starts P13. We'll then have starting P14 the leader of the primes in terms of how they line up on the grid, prime pole sitter, but lowest place prime driver Aaron Lahr, with then the 8th row of the grid going to Jake Gertson and Matt Best. Row number 9 will go to Justin Bragan and Justin Delano, and then we will see Mark Senegal and Tom Bryce completing your top 20. Behind them it will be Garrett Chavez and Wesley Griffith, and then it will be P21, P22, what will be there Matthew Quinton and Shajee Zuhair, with Zuhair being your Pro-Am Championship leader going into this round. We'll then have on AM pole position starting P25 Jason C. Lynn, joined on the 13th row of the grid by Jesse Jamison Jr. And then we will have on the 14th row of the grid Carl Peterson and Aaron Tiggott, with your top 30 being completed by S. Edward Irving and Glenn Bratton. The final full row of the grid will be Braden Mellon and Joseph Blomel, P31, P32. And then last but not least, P33 will be your AM Championship leader, and last but not least on this running grid, Ethan Rolfe coming into today, but will he be leader coming out the other side of it? That will be the challenge he'll want to conquer, as we see the grid making its way along, and of course they will be taking what will be single file formation through the forward chicanes, as they've been asked to by the admin team, given how tight and tricky it gets through there. There's no real space to go too wide, but as we do look to Jason Landry, who leads the field behind the safety car, well, they're already in single file formation here, respecting the rules immediately. That's what we love to see, and as he makes his way along, it is a long partial formation lap, having started at the run in towards the Porsche curves, and well, you can imagine we'll be getting underway in approximately 30 seconds time as the field just concertinas its way through. We have had a couple of drivers decide to start from the pit lane, including Aaron Lahr and S. Edward Irving. Dominic Ford, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be on the grid today. Perhaps a technical issue with the car and not something that he's wanted at last possible minute, but that has put us with one retirement already for our 33 starters. We'll be down to 32 as the drivers make the way along. Of course, for Jason Landry, having not been able to compete in all rounds so far, and he's had some difficulty, particularly at Imola last time out, he'll be hoping today things do go his way. But meanwhile, all eyes will be on the battle between Jaden Calloway and what is James Logsdon. Which of the two will come away the Pro Cup champion? The same, of course, in the Prime class. Can Shajee Zuhair just run away with proceedings? And in the AM class, even Rolf versus Joseph Lamel, which of the two will come out on top? Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's lights out and away we go as Jason Landry takes us to the green flag. 50 minutes of racing get underway. It's single file initially, but don't be surprised if you start to see some early battles as they make the way onwards towards the Dunlop chicane. And Landry already under pressure from John Lauzon as they make the way onto the brakes, but it doesn't look as though Lauzon close enough to make the move. We have had a change of position between Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble. They swap places, the DNA Motorsports drivers, but as they all make the way through and onwards now towards the S's, and off it already looking to make a move versus Nickens and De Soto as they get very close in the run, down through the S's there, into turn 6 and 7 they go, but no change between them. All the drives safely on through. We have had Edward Irving leave the pit lane, I do believe, in Aaron Lara as well, so therefore they're safely up to racing speed now. So our 32 starters all way and clear as they make the way onto the Mulsanne straight for the first time of asking. A couple of drivers going a bit wide, they'll have to be careful. They won't want to pick up any automated slowdowns as those are an absolute pain to serve. But here we can see Kyle Moraes making his way onwards towards the first chicane as we will change of place here between De Soto and what is there, Julian Jones. Julian Jones subject to an automated slowdown penalty for the iRacing shooting system. And we've got a couple other drivers as well falling down the orders. Meanwhile, further back, that's 3-4 wide there, and James Logsdon's going to pick up multiple places as he cuts his way past Jordan Butler, Jaden Calloway and Tanner Dibble. And well, the Team Barefoot driver making it up into P9 as they make the way to the second part of the Mulsanne. Of course, this is all going to be about early positioning, and will come the next lap. I suspect a lot of drivers will be looking instead to start to fuel save down there, given the fact they will need to come into the pits. Those 50-litre fuel tanks will not go the full race distance, and could we just see one pit stop today, or perhaps multiple? Well, I believe it's at least a one-stop strategy here with a bit of fuel saving. If you don't fuel save, you may be looking at a two-stop as they come down in towards the braking zone for the second chicane. No major changes there. David Adeyeye moves up to P7, just squeezes ahead of De Soto, but again, this could all be about early positioning rather than anything major here between these guys at this time. Further back, Cole Peterson under a bit of pressure. The Caboose Crew driver battling with Ethan Rolfe and also Glenn Bratton. Bratton looking to go around the outside now as they exit the second chicane. They'll power their way onwards towards Mulsanne corner, and where it's going to be the Hyundai machine from the Caboose Crew versus the privateer of Glenn Bratton as they come on down. Behind him is Aaron Lahr, who's looking to get involved in the lime green mean machine, and as they go onwards towards the braking zone for turns 14 and 15. Well, side by side they come. This is the battle for P7 in the AM class, and Bratton's on the inside, Peterson's on the outside, and Bratton in the end backs out. They're deciding not to force the door open, and Peterson's going to go slightly deep, but it doesn't cost him too much. Meanwhile, we look a little bit further up into the Prime class, and this is Garrett Chavez for Kind of Fast Racing Team, who's making very quick progress here as he powers his way on towards Indianapolis. And well, as you can see, they're tucked into the toe of what is Mark Senegal at a distance. He's got Wesley Griffith, Shajee Zuhair, and Matthew Quinton all vying for a bit of slipstream behind him. And well, this is of course the painful place to be in terms of the fact you're pulling your rivals along as he goes for a bit of a late move there in towards Indianapolis. A lovely move from Chavez, and he'll move up the inside of Mark Senegal to take P5 in Prime class, and the 159 is absolutely flying out there. Meanwhile, we've had an instant for Jason Lynn. He's got off into what is the runoff area there in Indianapolis. We've kept out the wall, thank goodness, but the privateer finds himself going a bit deep too early, and well, that'll be cold brakes and cold tyres, and just trying to get things up to temperature as quickly as possible. As meanwhile, we look back to the front of the field as it's making its way to the Porsche curves, and it's Jason Andrews still leads with Kyle Moraes right behind him as they head onwards towards the end of this lap. There's still plenty of mileage to go, with Matt Best chasing after Justin Delano. Delano just find his way past Best in towards the early part of the Porsche curves before they made the double left. And well, the second breakfast driver here, I think, just pacing himself and not wanting to commit to the fight too early, given the fact you start fighting this early on and the field will start to split, and that's the last thing you want when Jake Gertzen is leading in your class and he's trying to bring Justin Bragan along, and they're trying to leave Delano and Best behind. But after one lap of racing, it is Jason Andrew who leads. He's leading overall in the Pro class ahead of Kyle Moraes P2. We then have Eric Nickens P3 ahead of Edwin Offred, followed by John Lauzon. Julian Jones is P6, David Adeyeye P7, Christian De Soto P8, James Logsdon P9, and then Jaden Calloway P10. But speaking of Jones and Lauzon, well, it's going to be Jones looking around the outside here into the Dunlop chicane versus Lauzon, who holds the inside to outside, and Jones making that look like clockwork as he makes one to the Dunlop bridge. Again, both drivers showing each other great racing room and respect. Meanwhile, Christian De Soto getting very close to the back of Lauzon because he's trying to stay one step clear of Logsdon as they make the way on through. But in the end, it's going to be David Adeyeye who was battling side by side with De Soto at the time. And here comes Logsdon up the inside into Tetra Rouge, and well, both drivers there make it just about, but Christian De Soto being absolutely bruised and battered there, albeit mentally, I would say, not physically. There's been no contact, but the fact that he's just been ushered down the running order by 3 places with some brilliant racing action between the drivers. But it's the last thing that De Soto's wanted, and was he falls down even further. This is because he's not on the racing line in terms of where everyone is, and he's not picking up a toe, and therefore he's got to try and fit himself back in. But in the space of what has been the best part of none other than the quarter of a lap, he's gone from being all the way up in P8 to being down. But meanwhile, speaking of going down, that's David Adeyeye going a long way down the order. Now, was he given the tap coming through them first to the moles and chicanes, and was that of his own volition? We're not sure, but what we can see is the ITD West driver's gone around. Meanwhile, Justin Braggett as well has gone around, and that was into the moles and chicane. In fact, I think he's got around to the exit of it, and he's avoided getting onto the path of his other drivers. But what a challenging moment, no doubt about it, for the middle of the pack racing driver, and now he's got to reset and get his head back in the game immediately, as this second lap is proving to be full of drama. Garrett Chavez under pressure here from Matt Best looking on the inside, but Chavez not backing out, just holding his racing line and saying, look, if we want to go for it, either let me take the position, or we're going to end up having a bit of a bruise and a bum, and we'll best knowing not to get on the nerves of the 159 driver as they head down towards Molzad corner. But as they power the one down, and we say hello to Jason Landry in the YouTube chat, enjoying that move there from what was James Logsdon on Christian De Soto. We're heading onward still, and De Soto right now trying to get himself back into the fight, getting ahead of Calloway there just about. But Christian De Soto really finds himself under a lot of pressure as he runs wide there. Oh my goodness, and a bit of a contact there between Calloway and De Soto, as Calloway had to take evasive action as the 59 picked up a lot of on-power oversteer there coming out of the gravel trap from Molzad corner. And will De Soto, in the end, it could have been tears, it wasn't quite, but he'll know not to make that mistake again in a hurry, because that was very risky. But as they head on down towards Indianapolis, where it's going to be Jordan Butler who's trying to keep the whole pack behind him in the hunt for P6, you can see already how it's going to be Lauzon running away. There comes De Soto up the inside, classic move into Indianapolis, and he'll get it done there before they head to the left-hander. And De Soto right now very eager to make some further headway. But as they come onwards in towards Arnage, behind them James Logsdon, who was at the head of this pack going onto the Mulsanne straight. He's down at the back of it. Well, how the table has turned so quickly with that brilliant move from James Logsdon into Tetra Rouge, but it was all worth for naught arguably as he falls back. Jake Gertson just behind there, and will Gertson right now for Vice Motorsports, he's trying to get a message through to Tanner Dibble, which is, can you pros politely hurry up, because right now he thinks he's got a bit more pace. He's got Justin Delano pressuring him from behind, and Garrett Chavez not too far back either, and this top four of the primes are right on the heels of the leading pro pack, and wanting the pros, I suspect, to go a little bit faster at this point in the race, because the pros are too busy exchanging places. Meanwhile, looking back to the AM class, it's Jesse Jefferson Jr. who is your AM leader for Photan Clan, and doing a fantastic job. He's put 5 seconds between himself and Joseph Blamel, and well, I wouldn't be surprised if Blamel and Rolf have been battling quite hard over position off camera. But on top of that, the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs driver, he's lost the toe of Jameson Jr., who's got the toe of Zuhair and Bryce, and therefore he's just gradually pulled himself away. But speaking of Bryce, well, Bryce, they're swapping places with Zuhair, and keep in mind, of course, that Zuhair, the Prime Championship leader, he'll be wanting to make sure he picks up a few more places to guarantee that Prime Cup crown. Was they head on towards another lap with a bit of teamwork there for the ITD West crew, swapping the drivers round at this time. And meanwhile, speaking of the swaps, new race leader Caio Moraes, the Brazilian driver for the privateer outfit in the 88, has taken the lead off of Jason Landry in towards the Dunlop chicane. And as they head towards the end of the opening 10 minutes of this race, keep in mind, of course, it's 50 minutes rather than standard 40, just provide a little bit more length as it is a feature race round. But right now, it's all about pacing here, and Landry would not have let Moraes go without reason, and that reason is so he can save some fuel and just simply maintain the pace of this race as they head on to Mulsanne. As they power their way up the gearboxes and heading upwards to 160 miles an hour. Well, from our drivers up in front, meanwhile, a bit further back, and this is Braden Mellin, the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs driver, chased after Mark Senegal and Justin Bragan. And keep in mind, of course, the Canadian driver, one of the candidates for the AM Cup crown today, albeit he won't be picking it up if he finishes there. It'll be going the way of Joseph Lamel, who's all the way up in P2 in the AM class. Meanwhile, Mellin is in at P5, so therefore he's got some work to do here if he wants to make this happen. But as he follows up the suit, now he's got to just think, he's got to settle himself into strategy mode here, which is if he's going to pass Mark Senegal, he's got to do it without losing any time. And this is the exact place you want to do it. And he's got to try and get the message through to Mark, which is, look, let's work together, let's toe off each other, and let's get closer to Justin Bragan, because it works out for the pair of us. And it looks like Senegal there, aware of that and looking to play it smart. And the same happening here at the front of the field as Eric Nickens for Photan Clan takes the lead this race, albeit keep in mind Caio Moraes right behind Edwin off P3 and Jason Andrew P4. All four of them separated by only 1.5 seconds, and therefore they're all playing this game right now. They've passed the baton, passed the leadership around, but don't let anybody get away. And this top four is already 2.2 seconds clear of P5 driver Quinton, and that's what they'll want to maintain. They won't want the rest of the field to catch up to them. As meanwhile, we've got a little bit of a game of catch-up here being played out between Justin Delano and Jake Gertson. Gertson on the right of the picture, Delano on the left as they head into Malzahn corner. Delano is going to take the position here, but I suspect Gertson will say, well, you played exactly into my hands because now I will get the toe going down towards Indianapolis. So this one can make the move. As meanwhile, Matt Best almost losing it there in the all-red second breakfast machine. You saw on the left of your picture as he almost went around coming out of the gravel trap of Malzahn, and well, that is going to enable Matthew Quinton and Garrett Chavez to go side by side here. The privateer on the inside of the kinks as they head in towards the second right kink, and Quinton right now trying to pass what will be Chavez, albeit 600s between the two of them here as they power their way up the gearbox. So Quinton will get his nose ahead, but it's going to be 2 by 2 as they head in towards Indianapolis. Surely the primes have got to back out of this. Well, in the end, Quinton will get ahead of it. Chavez covers off the inside fantastically versus Best, and the two pros are Dibble and Adeyeye behind, watching on and not able to get involved. A bit of a lock up there from Adeyeye by looks of things, and well, that's cost him a little bit of retardation of the brakes into Arnage, and he's going to have to go at a tight and defensive here as Taylor Dibble looks to go all the way around the outside. But look at that in the foreground of your picture. Right now, it really is a game of Quinton versus Chavez, and Quinton does not want to let his rival through. He wants to break that toe, he wants to get away, and the Briton at this point will definitely burn in some time versus Jake Gertson in front, who's 3 seconds clear as they make their way towards the Porsche curves for the third time of asking. And I think Chavez at this point will find himself between a rock and a hard place, which is he wants Quinton to chase after the leaders, but he also wants to make sure the rest of the pack don't follow through. But Quinton right now, with the way this is playing out, they are falling away from the top two in the prime class, and Delano and Gertson will enjoy their own little battle, it would seem. But of course, we've got pit stops to come, and the fuel saving that's done in the run up towards those pit stops could turn things upside down in its entirety. But we'll have to see as we pass the first fifth of this race. New fastest lap of the race set by Eric Nickens for a brief moment. It's Christian DeSoto and then James Logsdon with a 49.484, absolutely putting the new purple lap together as John Lauzon falls down to P7 behind Jordan Butler. And Butler making his way through. Lauzon backing off there in towards Dunlop curve. You could see the speed difference between the two of them. And Lauzon, just a slight lift of the throttle, probably bleeding about 2 to 3 miles an hour. But it just guarantees that Butler gets through and he doesn't lose time. But where he's going to lose time is by letting on through was the combination there of Calloway and Jones. Albeit Lauzon brings himself back onto racing line. But I don't think he expected to have both of the ITD cars make their way on through as the Canadian driver heads through Tete Rouge this time. A run wide there for James Logsdon. And well, Logsdon running that wide, that could be a risk of an automated slowdown. We'll have to wait and see. Oh, it doesn't look like it at the moment, but he's definitely pushing his luck there by running that wide. If he runs any wider than that, and I suspect we will be seeing a slowdown next time around as they come down the first part of the Malzahn straight. Meanwhile, looking further back, David Adeyeye and Taylor Dibble, they find themselves in an awkward position here with both drivers having early mistakes on laps 1 and 2, pushing them outside the pro pack and dropping them into the prime pack. So they're now going to try and work with the primes around them to make their way back up the order, albeit Dibble and Adeyeye at this point side by side on the braking here into Malzahn corner, and well, just in front of them we have had a car go round, and that is the car of Garrett Chavez, who's, oh my goodness, and I think Chavez has had a bit of an instant there with what was by the ITD West machines, and well, the kind of fast racing team driver who was enjoying a good run, and I believe that instant has come with none other than, well, I don't think it's Julian Jones, surely not. We'll try and get an update. In fact, it was Julian Jones who was there with him, so whether they've had a brush alternatively 2 separate instances at the same time, we're not quite sure. But what we can tell you is that Chavez is all the way down to P20 and Jones has dropped all the way down to P18, so both of them having some major misfortune. And well, the kind of, oh goodness, so there's contact there. And Chavez is not too happy at all, as even Rolf is given at the elbow outside onto the second part of the Malzahn chicane. And well, as a result, the 207 driver right now, who's running P2 in the AM class, he's got Joseph Blamel immediately behind him, but Rolf will be worried whether that's damaged the steering of the car as they make the way through. And I can imagine there might be some words between the two of them after the race today as they head on down towards Malzahn corner once again. But as the Englishman heads towards the braking zone, Blamel will be getting closer and believing that there's a huge possibility here that he could take the stage World Cup in the AM class, albeit Rolf would love to keep him behind as the battle is between the two of them as they power their way along. Braden Mellon, of course, being the outsider who's a bit further down, but if things were to finish as they currently stand, it will be Ethan Rolf who would take that AM Cup crown just ahead of Joseph Blamel as they head up towards Indianapolis once again. But as they power their way onwards, just in front, we do have what is a three-way battle there. Wesley Griffith versus Julian Jones, with Jesse Jameson Jr., the AM leader, just behind them. And you can see there Griffith going inside to outside. Absolutely. In fact, that was not Wesley Griffith, that was Julian Jones, I should say, showing his knowledge as a pro driver. But meanwhile, Wesley Griffith keeping Jameson Jr. just behind for now. But the two Photon-clad drivers will not want to step on each other's toes, and I think they're going to try and work together on this one. Albeit they've got to be careful, of course, because the more they fight with the drivers around them, including Shajee Zuhair behind them and also Julian Jones in front, they are at risk of bringing Ethan Rolfe and Joseph Blamel back into this, and indeed making it a three-way fight for the AM lead. Albeit that's something that Jameson Jr. would not like. He would like to bring home what would be his first ever AM win in his middle of the pack racing at league history. He's picked up a couple of podiums, if my memory serves me correctly, but never an AM win, and well, he'd love to achieve that today for Photon Clan. That's a certainty as the American driver comes to the end of the Corvette curves and now on towards the forward chicane, as we see a run wide there from Julian Jones, the pro class driver from IT West, and well, that run wide could cost him dear. As we look back up towards the front of the field, there's a run wide there, and well, that in the rear of your picture is Jordan Butler, who's exploring track limits and then some, running in P8, but we're focused on Jaden Calloway in P5 as he heads onwards towards lap number 5, and as he does so, Garrett Chavez into the pit lane. Now, is that for strategy, or is that because of the damage he's picked up on this lap with the spin at the first Bolzan chicane, and then the contact that was picked up between himself and Ethan Rolfe at the second chicane? Well, he'll be the one to know. We'll keep our eyes on that for you guys and girls at home and let you know what the pit stop length was like. But as they make their way on through the S's here, live on your screens, Calloway for IT West right now. Well, he'll be looking to try and chase that Jason Landry, but the gap is 1.3 seconds, albeit the tow extends out to approximately 1.7 seconds in these cars on the extended straight, but it's a very small sniff of the tow, and you ideally want to be within a second to pick up the majority of that slipstream effect, which is what your race leader, Eric Nickens, will be cognizant of, with Edwin Offray not too far behind. As they power their way down towards the first Bolzan chicane, well, these two are gradually pulling away. The gap now almost 3 seconds over Caio Moraes as they head on through the right, left, right combination. The Brazilian driver doesn't seem to be on the pace of leaders at the moment, but I would suspect this is more now about just managing his race and seeing if he does end up with Jason Landry getting close, seeing if he can work with the Sunday GT Turtles driver. Albeit further back, we can see more exchanges going on here for the prime lead. Justin Delano still trying to break away from Jet Gertson and Matthew Quinton, and Delano powering on. It thinks for the finish as they currently stand, however. Shajee Zuhair, P6 in at the prime class, P18 overall, would be bringing home the Prime Cup, albeit by a limited number of points, but he would still do it over Matthew Quinton and company. So therefore, Quinton will need to take the Prime lead in order to pick up the 3 bonus points for the Prime class win, plus finish as high as he can overall in order to put Zuhair under pressure. But of course, that is the long aim of the game here, as we are only the best part of what is a third of the way into this race. We've still got plenty of distance to go over the 50 minutes, and well, as Delano looks to try and break away, well, he's not going to be breaking away at this point. As you can see there, whilst he may have hashtag cast your shadow on the car, well, he's going to be in the shadow potentially of an attack from Jet Gertson, as Gertson inching closer and closer, and well, there's the slipstream as they make the way in towards Bolzan corner. Gertson on the inside, Delano on the outside, holding the brakes, they get both go, and in the end, Delano will made to go a little bit deep there. Gertson really making sure to get his elbows out, but it's a change for lead, and Gertson now holds the prime lead for a brief moment at least as they power their way down towards Indianapolis. But will we see a swap back between the two of them, or will Delano let it go? Well, here we go there as they head in towards the second kick. Delano literally on the back of his rival, but giving him a little bit of a push along there, a little bit of a bump draft almost, albeit I think he'll be getting close, but he won't be bumping along, given that was outruled after the Circuit Spa Francorchamps round in round number 1. But they head in towards the braking zone. Well, no change of freedom, and Delano does settle for P2 in the prime class at this time. Meanwhile, in terms of the AM leader, Joseph Blamel has found his way past Ethan Rolfe off camera and was leading currently by 2.3 seconds, so he would be your AM Cup champion if things were to hit the checker flag as they currently stand. As meanwhile, that's drama in the rear picture. That's Ethan Rolfe, who's had a major lock-up in towards Indianapolis corner. The Vice Motorsports driver has found a vice in amongst all of his virtues, and as we see the front right lock-up again there, I wouldn't be surprised if he's overcooked the front brakes and the front tyres, and the 207 driver drops to P3 in the AM class. To be fair, he hasn't fallen out of the podium position positions, but he's fallen away from Blamel, who is now 7.5 seconds up the road, and that is not what he wants to have happen. Even though we've got a long way to go, a 7.5 second gap can be a nightmare to try and close up, given the respective distances of the drivers. Meanwhile, elsewhere down the order, we have had some early pit stops. So Garrett Chavez, a 15.3 second stop, so I suspect that will be to have taken fuel on. Also for Aaron Tiggott, and also for, in fact, just for those two at the moment, we've had pit stops, albeit Justin Delano into the pits here. In fact, yes, he is into the pits. The camera there making me think he was taken to the runoff area before towards the forward chicane, but he comes in, so does Matthew Quinton. So both of these drivers coming in for their first stop. Could we be seeing, in fact, a two-stop strategy here? Well, it all comes down to how much fuel-saving drivers have done. But do keep in mind, with these 50-litre fuel tanks, we have seen in our 40-minute sprint races that our drivers have gone anywhere in terms of pit stops between what has been the 16th minute and the 30th minute. So therefore, there is a big pit window to be played with here, as meanwhile our race leaders just march on, and Nickens ahead with an offer as Christian De Soto, well, he's had to be towed to his pit box. The something has gone very well for De Soto. In fact, they've had to retire the car, from what I'm hearing in my ear, and there's been an incident for De Soto off camera, but Christian De Soto's race has gone from good to bad to disaster, and he is our first official retirement since the race start. But Nickens and Onofre here still close together as they head in towards the braking zone for the first chicane. We ride on board with Onofre, and will these two continue to oblige each other? Now a 6-second gap to third place driver of Comorais, and well, the Brazilian not catching up at all. In turn, he's got a 3.5 second gap to Jason Landry. So the lead pack right now really spreading out here, and I suspect Onofre and Nickens really playing the old adage of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and both trying to work together. They will be friends for now, but I'd imagine in the last couple of laps, should they be in the lead battle by themselves, those last couple of laps are going to get incredibly intense between the two of them, and that's where we'll see the true animals come out of the pair as they make the way onwards towards Bolzan Corner. But as they do, and we look back to the exterior picture, will mean while we look back to David Adeyeye, who's battling with Tanner Dibble, albeit this is a quick swap for position, and I think this is more of a polite swap than anything else between them at this time. As we saw in the rear of the picture, Tom Bryce and Joseph Blamel getting quite close together and swapping places, with the AM leader coming on past the P4 prime driver. But as Adeyeye powers on here, well, Dibble's fallen 6 tenths back, but then again, he won't be too concerned at that, given the fact he's well within a second of his rival, and therefore he'll just gradually pick up the tow as they head onwards towards the Mulsanne corner. Julian Jones a bit further back. He's got the company of Wesley Griffith just in front of him, and the ITT West JMT driver will be looking to work with what will be the number 162 in order to get closer to Jake Gertsen and try to find his way back towards the top 10. But onwards they'll go, and as they do, meanwhile we look back to your overall leaders, and Eric Nickens here, still ahead of Edward Offred. And Offred get within 800s there in towards Indianapolis, but not putting any further pressure on, just simply trying to maximise his lap time here as best as possible. And Nickens meanwhile being required to remain the leader for now, albeit I would imagine the Photan clan driver at some point is going to get his inner gentleman out and start to try and in a way give Offred the message, which is, no, after you please sir, in the fact I would like you to now lead the race and enable me to save some fuel. But of course that is the power of being in P2 when you're a top 2 battle, is in the fact that you can really choose how close you want to run. And the flip side of the coin is, if Eric Nickens wants to be tactical, what he'll do, he'll start to do some fuel saving into the braking zones. He'll lift and coast 50 metres before where he'd normally brake. But of course if he wants to do more and more fuel saving, he can of course extend that lift and coast zone up to a point without it being unsafe, and that will cause the pace of the top 2 to really fall away, and that would bring Comorais back into that pack, and that 6-second gap would suddenly diminish. But of course Edwin Offred at that point might decide, actually, you know what, if Eric is going to be that slow and start to save that much fuel, I might as well take the lead. But meanwhile, speaking of taking the lead or the initiative here, the leaders come into the pit lane, so they've been able to extend those fuel tanks as far as they humanly can, and will they make the way in? Comorais does the same. Jason Landry stays out for another lap, and well, also to the bits is John Lauzon and Calloway, and we've also got their James Logsdon and David Adeyeye, so all the pros minus a couple all coming in. So Landry's done plenty of fuel saving, so has Jordan Butler. They've been able to make this fuel tank just go a little bit longer, and that could prove important for track position later on in this race today. Meanwhile, Julian Jones had a spin at the final corner. That's going to cost him even more time for ITT West JMT. He hasn't come into the pits. We've also got all the prime leaders coming in. We've got Matt Best in, Jake Gertsen, Wesley Griffith in, Tom Bryce in. They're all parking up at the moment. Joseph Blamel, your AM leaders in. Is this Jesse Jameson Jr.? Well, this is a surprise, but not an unwelcome one, as everyone deciding it is time to pit. But meanwhile, leaving the pit lane is Eric Nickens, and look at that. As he makes her out the pit lane, Edward Noffred by comparison will spend an extra 3 seconds in the pit lane, and Eric Nickens of Photon Klein has done a fantastic job on that first stint. Now, has he underfueled intentionally in order to perhaps capitalise on the idea that he'll want to take lead track position and then just perhaps have a battle with one driver going into this second stint? We'll have to see. But Eric Nickens, if he has done enough fuel saving to be able to create that 3-second gap naturally, that is an incredible pit stop there for Nickens. It must be said, an incredible first stint, because it's really gifted him a lot of breathing room in the 44 to now go hunting after what would be this win today if he can make it happen. But meanwhile, more frantic action in the pit lane. Jason Lynn into the pit. So is Glenn Bratton, as you see Bratton making his way out of the pit lane, just under the foreground of your camera shot. We've also got behind there, that's Carl Peterson being serviced. As the car's up on the jack, so Peterson go for a tyre change here. Nobody else has changed tyres, only Peterson has. Perhaps he knows something that we don't with regards to the state of the tyres on that car. Perhaps the caboose crew deciding for safety to put a new set of tyres on and give him better grip towards the end. But that is going to cost him a huge amount of time in the pit lane. That's going to effectively double his stationary pit time, but it could give him some extra pace. Meanwhile, out at the circuit, we're at the halfway point of this race. 25 minutes complete, 25 minutes plus the final lap to go. And Garrett Chavez and David Adeyeye battling for P13. It's Chavez on the inside, and he will take the lead of that fight into the Mulsanne chicane, albeit just missing the tyre barrier there on corner exit, pushing it to the absolute limit. And well, to be fair, he wouldn't be kind of fast in terms of being part of the kind of fast racing team if he did push it to the absolute limit then and again. But as he powers his way on down in towards what will be the second chicane, making his way all the way through. You can see how Garrett Chavez right now just keeping his head down and carrying on and looking to be in a strong position whilst doing so. But here comes none other than Adeyeye trying to go outside to inside, but Chavez saying no you don't. Albeit Adeyeye says yes I do, because you're going to go a bit deep. And as they make the way out the chicane, it's going to be too wide here as they power their way down towards the Mulsanne corner. There's going to be Chavez on the right of your picture currently, and it'll be Adeyeye on the left of the ITD West yellow and black machine. But the kind of fast racing team car, where it's not them without reason. The 159 right now is trying to hold on as Chavez looks to try and defend around the outside, but there's Adeyeye on the inside, and Chavez has to back off there into the braking zone, but that will set him up for the run down towards down towards none other than what will be Indianapolis corner. But these two exchanging places right now, and in doing so offering themselves a loss of some race time here to likes of Justin Delano, who's 3 seconds up the road. Albeit Chavez will be wanting to lead the pair as they make the way onwards, because Delano is next target, who's P2 in the Pram class. Chavez is P3 in the class. But you may be asking right now, of course, why are they battling for overall position so much? We'll come to that shortly as I go too wide into Indianapolis, and Chavez down the inside, outside now, and Adeyye's not giving up the fight, and the ITC West driver locks up slightly but gets it stopped in time. Brilliant car control there from was Adeyeye to make sure it didn't understeer any further. Chavez as well, full commitment from the 159 driver. These two absolutely putting on a spectacle, and Garrett Chavez, well, absolutely bold, brazen and brave. That's what we love to see, and holds on to P13. As meanwhile, into the pits comes your race leader, Jason Landry, with Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble, the other two who didn't pit alongside him come the end of the previous lap. Well, they're going to be the final drivers to pit from the top three. Julian Jones as well, we suspect, is coming in, and indeed, as I look at our content brief window, he does come into the pit lane, and then the last driver to come into the pits will be Mark Senegal, your prime leader. And the Sunday GT Turtle driver has been a bit quiet in this race so far, but he makes way down. In fact, he's going very slowly there. I think he's run out of fuel at the end of this. I don't think he's saved enough, and the car is creeping along. Let's listen in. And well, oh goodness me, it's all gone wrong for Mark Senegal as he spins under braking there, locking up before the pit limiter line. Well, I think he will get it into the pits, but as he now gets the car restarted, I wouldn't be surprised there if he was struggling for fuel and then making that error. Well, that's going to increase his instant count significantly and put him perhaps close to a drive-through penalty later in the race, but he did manage to keep it out of the barrier and keep it on pit lane entry, so I think he'll get away with that, but that's going to cost him a huge amount of time and completely undo all the hard work he's done with the overcut strategy that he was going for. And in fact, he's up on the jacks there, decided to put on a new set of tyres. I think he's going to need them after that, as meanwhile, back out on circuit, Tom Bryce, P6 Pro-Am, finds his way past Joseph Blamel for P16, and the AM leader has got Jesse Jamison Jr. right behind him. And as they come on down the hill into the S's, well, Jamison Jr. is not going to back out of this without a fight as we jump on board with the 2-3-1 for Votan Clan. Remember, chasing his first ever AM victory in his middle of the pack racing league career. And well, he'd love to do that versus Blamel. Blamel, meanwhile, chasing what would be his first ever AM Cup, having debuted in the LMP3 Championship, and well, he is currently on course to take that, given the fact that Ethan Rolfe is down in P4 in the AM class. As they head onwards onto the back straight, we're heading down the first part of Mulsanne, and you can see that Bryce and Blamel exchanging place with Blamel on the left hand side. Bryce tucks in behind him, and Jefferson Jr. will need to do the same here. He's got to play the game of what is high-speed chess here as they head in towards the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Now, as they do, Jefferson Jr. not really lifted out there, and that gives you an idea of his intention, which is he wants to chase Blamel down. If he was a little bit more careful, he could perhaps done some fuel saving, but perhaps he feels as though he's got enough fuel to get to the end on the way he's currently set up the car. We'll have to wait to see. There were some relatively short pit stops from some drivers out there, including from the likes of none other, of Braden Mellin in P3 in the AM class, who was only stationary for 17.75 seconds, one of our shortest pit stops in them all. Aaron Tiggett with 15.6 seconds, but here we can see up the inside of Bryce goes Jefferson Jr. And will Bryce not fight this too hard? No, he'll use the AM drivers to come back through on the run towards Indianapolis, and that's how he'll gain the time to chase down Wesley Griffith, who's up in P15. But from them, we do look to get some versus best, and well, we saw these two fight each other earlier on in stint number 1, and now into the second stint they go, and Best is right behind his rival as they power their way along. But as they do, Gertson just trying to steer clear at this time, with his next target being Garrett Chavez, who is up in P9 and being the best car of 3 seconds up the road. Speaking of Garrett Chavez, here he is, as you do see Jordan Butler from DNA Motorsports picking away out the inside. The DNA Motorsports driver wants to make some progress, and meanwhile Chavez not really fighting this too hard. I think the kind of fast racing team driver who was fighting very hard on the opening stint versus the pros around him, well, now that he can see that Justin Delano is only 2 seconds up the road, I think he's taken the confidence here, which is he's now earned his right to be in that lead battle in the Prime class, and now he needs to work with the Primes rather than battle with them in order to go hunting after the Pro-Am win. And if he takes that Prime win, it won't be enough to give him what would be the Prime Cup for stage 1, but it would be enough to put him right up there going into the second half of the season as an overall Drivers' Championship contender. But as they come in towards the Bush curves, Chavez is staying close. He will have to wait and see whether this piece lasts for long or whether he decides to go fight it again as they head in towards the double left. But coming on through with David Adeyeye just behind. Well, Adeyeye we wanted to pass Chavez in order to go hunting after Butler, and keeping in mind, of course, the pros don't gain any bonus points for being on their respective podium. It's only in the Prime and the AM classes where they do 3 for first, 2 for second, 1 for third. So therefore in the pro class it's your overall finishing position, and that's it. That is the painful life of being a pro, but then again you are at the top of your discipline, hence why you are a pro. As they come through the forward chicanes, the long line of cars here, the trio doing an absolutely fantastic job of keeping it close together, but at the same time as they head on towards what will be their 9th tour of the circuit under race conditions, which Chavez right now in the middle. He is the filler for what is a pair of Prolos as they make their way onwards towards turn number 2. Going on towards the braking zone, and as they do, well, meanwhile, we had a bit of an incident for John Lauzon, who's had, oh goodness me, went straight on at the chicane from what I understand. He's dropped down to P8 as a result. Jason Lange and also Justin Delano making their way past the second breakfast car. So therefore the Canadian driver having a nightmare moment, thankfully bringing it together. You can see running wide there, that'll be the dirt on the tyres from the gravel trap at the Dunlop chicane, and we'll get that dirt off gradually, but that's going to be pain that's felt for a brief moment, and well, the damage has been done. It puts him a bit further down the order and puts him at risk of being right in the thick of the next battle between Butler and Chavez. But powering their way down the Mulsanne straight. Meanwhile, we look back to Justin Bragger, who is chasing after Braden Mellin in the fight for P20 overall. Braggan's on the inside as Mellin runs a little bit wide going into Tetra Rouge, runs wide on the exit. Both of them run a bit wide, but I think Braden Mellin there went a bit wider than Braggan, and as a result, as they head on towards the first part of Mulsanne, will there be any change? Well, I think Braden Mellin there just in the toe, but not on a slowdown. They've both got away with it this time, but it could have definitely been far, far worse if it had gone the wrong way. And as they make the way upwards towards what will be the first chicane, well, here comes Mellin on the inside on the left of your picture, and Braggan's just going to let this go for now. And the middle of the pack racing driver knows that he can't afford to lose too much time, given the fact that Tom Bryce is 6.5 seconds up the road, and Bryce swapping place with Jones there, as Julian Jones, the pro member of ITT West, making his way on through to move up to P18. But looking back into what is the top 10, well, we look to your leader of Aaron Ekins, who has recently opened up a 7.4 second gap, because when he came out the pit lane, he was the best part of 3 seconds clear of an off-rare, and well, since then, the last couple of laps, Eric Nickens has been on average a second a lap faster than Edwin Offred, and that gap has opened up massively. Nickens is putting the hammer down here, but I wonder whether there is the risk of a second stop on the cards, given the fact that our drivers could not get the fuel tank to really last more than the opening 25 minutes. We haven't seen anybody go any longer than that. It may suggest that some drivers are trying to go for the one stop here. Meanwhile, others are going for a two stop, that they may not be wary of the fact that they are going onto a two-stop adventure. Perhaps Eric Nickens thinks as though if he can do things quickly enough on the final lap, he can back the pace off and force the race to end a lap early. Meanwhile, the likes of Offred may be factoring on the fact there's going to be an extra lap that other drivers haven't accounted for, and that could flip things upside down in their favour. But meanwhile, oh goodness me, and Garrett Chavez coming into contact there with David Adeyeye coming out of Indianapolis, and the kind of fast racer T-Drive looks as though he's been squeezed on the exit there by Adeyeye, albeit the camera angle being one of many which are stewards have access to, but David Adeye's race being completely turned in the wrong direction, and well, the damage picked up there, that is going to be a car that's going to need to come into the pits at the end of this lap, because that whole rear came apart where it looks as though it's reformatted itself here on our replay. But I can tell you one thing, that David Adeye's car definitely in a worse state for wear, and as they battled side by side coming out of Indianapolis, we did ask the question of whether Chavez would be relinquishing positions to pro class drivers, and well, the answer is it was only temporary, and in the end, in battling with Adeyeye, well, Adeye's come off the worst. But then again, well, let's not point the finger at the prime driver, because we don't know the full story there, and that's what the steward's job is for instead. But definitely looking very contentious between the two of them, and ITC West will take a hammer blow in terms of their championship lead in the team's championship, with one of their drivers now seeing his race all fall to tatters. Chavez into the pit lane as well, so he's not come off unscathed from that one. So both drivers there, well, they'll both be frustrated at that one. They'll both look back afterwards and ask themselves, what could I have done better? And as he makes his way into the pit lane, that's going to drop him a long way down the order and out of contention for a prime podium, if not the prime win. But as he makes his way to his pit box, meanwhile, Ethan Rolfe now on the charge as we ride on board the front nose cone of the 207, and the Vice Motorsports driver, of course, chasing after that AM Cup crown today. And well, Joseph Blamel, it's going the way of, given the fact he's your AM leader up in P14, Rolfe down in P20. But even Rolfe having a difficult start to this race, making some early progress, but then finding himself being stumped and involved in an early incident, pushing him down the AM order, where he's chasing after Braden Mellon, the outside contender for that AM Class Cup crown today. And well, these two, I think, are going to fight over the final AM podium position as it stands, with Jesse Jemison Jr. being in P2, and well, the best part of 9 seconds clear of these two as they head in towards the second part of the S's. But going from left into right here, and the 207 right now close, and well, he won't be wanting to be in the shadow of his rival for too long as they make the way on through the right hand. But Rolfe there backing off the dirty air, upsetting the balance of the car in terms of the aero, and not able to pick up as much speed as he'd like through Tetra Rouge. But the thing is, he's 4 tenths back, and now he will gradually gain, and he's got the whole belt of Morzan, plus also the run towards Indianapolis in order to close up the gap and make the move for P17 count. As we look to the exterior cameras, and indeed still in the tow there, inching closer and closer, 2 attempts, and then it was 1. But Rolfe looking for the move here. Will he go all in? Yes, he will. Braden Mellon not defending this because he knows he's still got 3 sections of straightaway in order to be able to come back at Ethan Rolfe. But look at the exit there from the Vice Motorsports driver. Already putting 6 tenths up. It's not going to be enough to break the tow. But Ethan Rolfe showing his intention, which is he is still chasing that AM win here today. Meanwhile, we look back to Joseph Blamel, your AM leader, and that is on his inside, Jesse Jameson Jr. And Jameson Jr. making the move there, but Blamel being quite peaceful, much like we saw from Braden Mellon, the Eclipse race, the Esports by Skyline Designs driver, knowing he's got to come back in the run from Mulsanne towards Indianapolis. He doesn't need to do anything until that point. He can just save some fuel in the meantime and give himself the opportunity to have a much shorter second stop if it's required, or at least give himself a greater guarantee of being able to make it to the end of the race come the end of this stint. But I say that, and now he's coming back versus Jameson Jr. Side by side they go in towards Mulsanne corner, and this could be critical for later on in the race today as they exit out, 2 wide on exit. Jameson Jr. doesn't want to back out. He knows he can't take the AM Cup here, but he wants that AM win. He wants his name in the winner's circle, and Blamel just gets ahead for now as we ride aboard and look back from the 2-3-4. But as we look over its rear wing, and Jameson Jr. immediately there with 12 minutes to go and putting on an absolutely fantastic performance are the pair. But Jameson Jr. really coming alive at Le Mans today as they power their way in towards Indianapolis corner, but too far back to attack and decides not to go for the lunge at all. And Joseph Blamel now will know that he's not going to have it easy all the way to the end, and Jameson Jr. is going to be there every corner, every lap, so long as he can as they head out of Arnage. As they come out of Arnage corner, meanwhile Braden Mellin versus Ethan Rolfe makes his way in towards Arnage, getting very close there. Oh, gonna speed into the barrier goes Ethan Rolfe, and well, Ethan Rolfe immediately been towed to the pits. He would not have been able to get the car at the gravel trap, and well, for Ethan Rolfe, a small error, just getting too close and too thirsty with the throttle, and it's all undone for the AM Cup contender. And that tow to the pits, he'll put him a lap back to P31, and that will be tears for the team. And it will be tears for Vice Motorsports. Ethan Rolfe knowing that cup is not to be. But meanwhile, as John Lauzon in P8 struggles on here versus Jordan Butler, we've still got 10 minutes to go. And many of you will cast your minds back to the Radical Championship of 2024 early this year, and the late drama we had for DNA Motorsports with the double spin of Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble on the final lap in their titanic battle with Jason Landry. Remember, it's not over at Le Mans until they get to that checkered flag, and Arnage corner seems to be claiming drivers left, right and centre once again with 10 minutes still in this race. But as Butler looks to clear John Lauzon, and Lauzon finds himself caught between Butler and Matt Best, the second place prime driver, still P10 overall, putting in a great stint so far, but he knows that Justin Delano is still 5 seconds up the road. He won't want Delano to have it all his own way. Has he got anything he can say about this, given the fact he finds himself battling with two pros, and those pros are in an absolute tooth and nail fight? Well, here they come down the first part of Mulsanne, and all three literally together here, nobody wanting to make a move. They know every move is going to cost them time. It's the same for Tanner Dibble versus Jake Gertzenbein, and they want to catch up to this free pack in order to make it a five-way fight for what will be P8. But will there be something to be said from Jordan Butler, who will know that Tanner Dibble is at the back of the pair that's following this pack? He'll want his teammate to be there. He'll want DNA Motorsports to pick up even more points, but he won't want it to turn into an absolute bum rush for what will be P8 in the end. And as a result, it could lead to them falling outside the top 10 when all is said and done. As they head in towards the second of the Mulsanne chicanes, meanwhile, we've still got more to come further back. And this is Team Bearpost S. Edward Irving, running side by side with none other than David Adeyeye, as Adeye's race continues to tumble outside the top 20. And Irving right now looking to try and find a way into P22, but will he be able to? It doesn't look like it this time, in towards what will be the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. But as they head through the right and in towards the left, now making their way onwards towards what will be the second Mulsanne chicane, and Irving will just take it easy and will just simply be in the tow, knowing there's plenty more opportunities to try and make the move stick later on. But looking from towards the back of the field, all the way out towards the front of it, Eric Nickens, the Fotan Clan driver, still leading, still almost 8 seconds clear of Edwin Offrey. Still got the best part of 8 minutes to go, plus the final lap. He's on lap 11 that's been turned so far, and doing a bit of quick mathematics, we can expect at least another 2 laps after this one, potentially even 3, depending on how close he cuts it. And well, he'll be hoping for another 2, I suspect, given the fuel. But how long can he go? Is there a risk of a second pit stop here? That is the question that will be on many a driver's mind. As meanwhile, Lauzon and Butler, they still continue to fight for P7 in the Pro Class, P8 overall, and they bring Best, Dibble and Gertzen with them, albeit Gertzen's fallen a bit further back. And Jake Gertzen, in fact, so far back in this battle right now, he won't be picking up the tow anymore. As meanwhile, well, you see Tanner Dibble there getting a little bit wrong corner exit and almost falling into what have been the barrier there coming out of Arnage corner, as the DNA Motorsports machine powers its way along, chasing after Best as they head inwards towards what will be the Porsche curves. And well, the second breakfast machine right now will be looking just to snack on the fuel of what is that fuel tank inside the car and not gobble it up too quickly, because I suspect here we still will have some stings in the tail for anybody who's been too excessive with the fuel consumption. As they make the way out the Porsche curves, you can see Dibble gets close, but when you're in a 4-way pack like this and you've got the triple amount of dirty air that you normally have, well, it does make it harder and harder in order to be able to look for a move. But he's just got to stay there right now and look for the move on the extended straights on the next lap as they come towards the 4 chicanes. And absolutely like poetry in motion, All four drivers here weaving from left to right and then left to right once again. Justin Delano into the pit lane, and well, oh goodness me, Logsdon goes a bit wide, and well, this is going to offer up a freeway opportunity in towards the Dunlop curve. As they come across the timeline, Dibble's going to be on the inside, Best is in the middle, Lows on the outside, free wide they go in towards the right-hander. No driver wants to back out here, and Best is going to part the seas of the pros. He'll take one, he'll take two, and Matt Best holds on to and takes P8 and takes the lead of the Prime class with race leader in class Justin Delano into the pit lane. Now as he parks up, this is a sign that this is a two-stop race day. We were wondering if anybody could go 10 on a one-stop. We've still got plenty of drivers out there. This could all be shuffle and shake all the way towards the end. And well, could Jesse Jameson Jr., for example, have done enough to save the fuel to get him there? Well, surely, if he's been saving fuel, and that would have been in the run behind Joseph Blamel, who's coming from the AM lead, well, the Photon Clan driver's going to have to do the 2 laps that are completely off the standard pace. But we'll have to wait and see whether that's the truth of the story as he makes his way on through Tetra Rouge. And as he heads on down the first part of the Mulsanne Straight, he's got Julian Jones and company just behind. And remember, that pit stop time loss is the best part of what will be, for a very short pit stop of no more than 10 seconds stationary, it will be a pit time loss of approximately 45 seconds, all is said and done. And will 45 seconds, given the lap is the best part of 4 minutes, although 45 seconds could be made up if somebody is having to go very slow and fuel save all the way round. But here comes Garrett Chavez looking for a moment. Justin Delano, keep an eye, of course, he's already served a second pit stop after that altercation with David Adeyeye, so therefore they will have put the fuel in the car and said to Garrett, look, you just need to go for it, you've got nothing to lose at this point. So he could still be a big player in what will be this Pro-Am class fight as he makes his way on past Delano there, absolutely storming past Delano. But of course, remember, they've still got 2 more parts of Mulsanne, then the run down towards Indianapolis, and then after this they've got 1 more lap to go. We are going to see what will be a 13th lap after this one, and that will be when the checker flag does come out, given the length of lap and the time remaining. So it's all strategy at this point. Further down the order, Justin Braggett as well, with Matthew Quinton tucked in behind, Braden Melling just in front. They've all taken the second pit stop already, and well, as they make their way out of the first of the Mulsanne chicane, you can see there Justin Braggett coming off racing line, and well, I believe Braggett is serving a slowdown of some description next. He's losing so much time, and well, Quinton is able to pull along with Melling, and meanwhile, Braggett right now, we've just seen an opportunity to stay in the tow, gradually a step away from him. As he heads in towards the second chicane. Meanwhile, we look to Eric Nickens in a very peaceful overall and pro lead. The Photon Clan driver, surely he's got to be coming in at the end of this lap, given the amount of lead he's pulled. Well, that's a sign that he's not been saving the fuel whatsoever, unless Nickens is going to go the distance. And if he were to do so, there'd be a big question on how on earth has he been able to save that much fuel and also pull out such a gap all the way. Well, here he comes towards the pit lane entry. Wheelie peel in. My bet's going to be that he does peel in. If not, it's going to be a very slow final lap. Where he comes, and he does duck to the pit, so he will be coming in for what will be a penultimate lap pit stop. And well, meanwhile, just what will be just in time, a move from Matt Best versus Tanner Dibble as they head on around through the double left of the Porsche curves and in towards the Corvette curves they go. And well, the second breakfast driver in P8 and Matt Best in the all-red machine right now, just holding on for dear life here in what is a very closely contested battle amongst the pros. And well, Best, well, he's done a fantastic job. He's been saving a lot of fuel throughout. And well, they stay out. There's multiple drivers staying out here. They're going to go the distance. And Jason Landry retakes the lead. My goodness, you could not make this up. He's going to gamble on 1 more lap here. And given his pace in that last lap was a 48.34, a personal best. Well, James Logsdon's also come through. Eric Nickens comes out in P3. He's got the car with all the fuel. He only needed 4.3 seconds stage straight. Jordan Butler is up the inside. Matt Best has also stayed out. Nickens has to defend here into the Dunlop chicane. He does so successfully. So Eric Nickens drops to P3. This is all shake and shuffle. Jesse Johnson Jr. meanwhile couldn't make it last in the AM class. He does come in from the AM lead. So where will this put him versus Joseph Lamel? Edward Irving as well, keep in mind, who started from the pit lane. He's taken 1 pit stop since then. He comes in for a second stop, so he's not going to be a factor in the battle between Joseph Lamel and Jesse Johnson Jr. But where will the two be? As we look to the blimp camera, this is Joseph Lamel making his way on through the forward chicanes. Jameson Jr. meanwhile is leaving the pit lane. That's not the most obligatory camera angle. And as they make the way on down the pit lane, we look to the external view, coming out of pit exit. There's Jefferson Jr., but Lamel comes on through, and Joseph Lamel retakes the AM lead, returns to P17, and well, now all he's got to do is get it round one more time to see that checker flag, and he will be your Stage 1 AM Cup champion. Meanwhile, in the Prime class, it is absolute pandemonium currently, given that Matt Best is leading the Prime class, albeit on the one-stop strategy, and well, Shajee Zuhair, who is all the way down in P10 with a 23-point advantage coming into today. He knows that P27 right now would be more than enough to guarantee him what would be the Prime Cup crown, and therefore the ITT West JMT driver will just carry on. Of course, this is going to put a huge dent in his overall championship lead in the Prime class, but he will take the prizes from today and know that it just hasn't been his day, having served 2 pit stops, as Glenn Bratton and Jason Lynn have left the pit lane. And in the Pro class, well, James Logsdon, currently in P2 on the one-stop strategy, he will have done the upset here. He'll have leapt his way ahead of Jaden Calloway, who's been on a 2-stop strategy and has not had the ideal race that he's wanted, and it would be James Logsdon who would take the Stage 1 Cup crown. We'll have to see, as the clock has got 30 seconds left on it or so, and right now all the drivers on the one-stop will be egging the car on. They'll be hoping that there is no sign of the fuel gauge getting close to empty as we ride aboard here with Matt Best. And let's listen in. And well, it sounds as though there the car just gradually building up, and a bit of a short shift to 6th gear there. Matt Best, like many I suspect right now, trying to save as much fuel as possible as he makes his way down. And in fact, goodness me, and I think there he might be turning the wick down completely just to try to inch the car along. Well, can he make it to the end? Can he steal away a Prime win? He's got a sizable gap of what is 30 seconds over Justin Delano, but that gap is crumbling quickly, and he's still got the best part of a third of a lap to go, or at least 3 miles. It is a long way to the finish line. He's going to let everybody around him go, so long as their name is not Justin Delano. But can Best get to the checker flag? Will, as he makes his way up speed up towards the Porsche curves. Delano, meanwhile, has got the company of David Adeyeye in front, and Delano is pushing hard. 9 at Best is struggling on fuel at this point, or at least he'll be aware of it. His team principal will be on the radio and saying, you've got to go, you've got to chase this all the way to line. But meanwhile, as we look towards the front of the field, this man, he's had some difficulties in the first half of the season, as he heads in towards the forward chicanes. He's pulled it off today on strategy. His name is Jason Landry, and as he makes his way through the last 2 corners, the checker flag will wave, and for the first time this season, Jason Landry takes victory at Le Mans in round number 4 of the championship. Victory overall in the Pro class for Sunday GT Turtles on a one-stop strategy surprise. Header Jordan Butler, who takes the runner-up spot, and P3, James Logsdon. No, it's P4 as Tanner Dibble steals it away at the line, but James Logsdon takes the Stage 1 Cup crown in the Pro class for a P4 finish. Head of Eric Nickens, Edwin Offre, Corin Morais is P7. We then got Jaden Calloway coming across the line, P8, in a difficult day today. Julian Jones comes out the final corner, P9, and Matt Best does it on fuel. He makes it home, P10, and takes Prime victory ahead of John Lauzon, who surely it's not run out of gas, literally at the line. He's crawling along. The second breakfast car is struggling. David Adeyeye gets past him. Justin Delano does, and Jake Gertsen with it. And Delano just misses out versus Gertsen for P2 in the Prime class, P12, as they cross the timeline. Garrett Chalmers, Wesley Griffith, and John Lauzon. Is he going to make it? The car's crawling along. Joseph Lamel, meanwhile, takes the AM victory, P16, and with it the Stage 1 Cup crown. And John Lauzon makes it to the checker flag, P17. Just about. That car is dry of fuel. Jesse Jefferson Jr. is your runner-up in the AM class today for Photan Clan with a P18 overall, his best ever performance. Matthew Quinton and Mark Single complete your top 20, and then it will be Justin Braggan, P21, with Braden Mellin taking the final spot on the AM podium, P22, ahead of Tom Bryce. It will then be S. Edward Irving, who comes to line P24, ahead of Shajee Zuhair. And well, to be fair to the Prime driver, all he needed to do today was see the checker flag. He's going to do that for P10 in the Prime class, P25 overall, and with it take the stage 1 Cup crown in the Prime class in what has been an absolutely incredible first half of his season, albeit today he looked vulnerable, but he knew his job today was just to get to the finish, and his championship lead will have been cut. It will reset things going into the second half of the season, but it will be a tough one. And well, Glenn Bratton, as he crossed the line, it'll be P26 ahead of Jason Lynn, who's got some way to go, and there he is in the rear of the picture as you see the privateer come to line. And we've still got some more drivers on their way, ladies and gentlemen, including what will be Aaron Tiggott as the Team Bear Pope machine makes its way on through the Porsche curves. And well, for Team Bear Pope today, it's definitely been a learning experience, a lot of data gain for the 286 driver, but not a race where he's been really in the thick of the fighting. But some days that's the way it goes, but still, the whole focus is get it home, get some points on the board. You never know how valuable they could be at the end of the season, and that's exactly what Tiggott will have done here as he weaves his way through the forward chicanes, still ahead of a couple of drivers out there, and well, he will come home at P28 overall, P7 in AM class as he makes his way past an absolutely packed out grandstand. And then it will be Aaron Lahr who comes home P29 in a frustrating day today in the 147. And well, from him, last finisher of this race will shortly be Carl Peterson, who will come to line P30. He'll be your last lead lap finisher and your last finisher of the race, albeit in fact we will have one finisher 4 laps down of Ethan Rolfe after that heartbreaking conclusion to his race at Arnage Corner 4 laps to go. But Carl Peterson will be your last lead lap finisher. P30 overall, P8 in the AM class, and what an end to the race there at Le Mans, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen it all, and well, Jason Landry saying in the YouTube chat there, the same 3 pro podium as the SR8 series, the Radicals. Indeed, Jason Landry, Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble. We're getting flashbacks to that radical ending, and well, I should say radical in the same sense as trust, because it'd be that radical ending that we saw at Le Mans. And well, also John Nelson, I think definitely taking the accolade for the slowest ever finish, but just gradually getting the car to line. Indeed, that reminded me in a way of Nigel Mansell. If many of you remember, I do believe it was the race, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think it was at Long Beach all the way back in the late 1980s, where he tried to push the car across the line after it ran out of fuel, but in the end collapsed on the side of the car with only about 10 metres to the checkered flag. I may be mistaken on that one. Indeed, we saw it more recently in Super GT, what was, I do believe, the Sugo circuit, where a car coming to a stop 200 metres to the finish line and the driver trying to push the car across the line to no avail. But still, as the racing concludes here, let's take a look through those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. For round 4 of the Middle of the Pack Racing League, falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024, brought to you on iRacing and powered by a parody sponsor, being the Dentistry Conference World Tour. And as we can see in our 4th round of racing, Jason Landry taking victory in our first feature race of the season for Sunday GT Turtles on a one-stop strategy gamble that worked out by 10.2 seconds over DNA Motorsports' Jordan Butler, who brought home a DNA Motorsports 2-3 ahead of teammate Tanner Dibble. James Logsdon finished P4 there for Team Bear Pope ahead of Eric Nickens, with the Photon Clan driver having a phenomenal drive for the first couple of stints, but in the end being beaten by the one-stoppers. But still, credit where it's due to the Photon Clan driver, definitely putting on a race-leading performance, and if the race had been a little bit different, he could have been the winner. Edwin Offray at P6 there, the privateer, also putting on a strong showing in his titanic and long-term battle with Eric Nickens ahead of Kyle Moraes, the privateer there from Brazil at P7, and then Jaden Calloway at P8 from ITT West, losing out today versus James Logsdon for the Stage 1 Pro Cup. Matt Best, your pro and winner, albeit with very little fuel left, and we heard that when we were on board with him on the final lap race, doing everything to sip the fuel, and in the end, well, he does take a victory in the Prime Class P9 overall. He'll be pleased with that, ahead of ITT West David Adeyeye, who completed the overall top 10. And then runner-up in the Prime class, Jake Gertsen for Vice Motorsports, fend off Justin Delano literally by half a tenth at the line, as the team had to part the seas around a slowly crawling John Lauzon, but Gertsen getting the job done, and Justin Delano putting on an absolutely brilliant battling performance today for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, and taking that 3rd place spot on the Prime podium. P13, it was Garrett Chavez for Kind of Fast Racing Team. Enjoyed it, the thick of the battling today, albeit definitely I think we'll find some frustration with that contact with David Adeyeye, as I stumble over my words, and Wesley Griffith, P14 for Photon Clan, head of your AM winner, P15, Joseph Blamel, the Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs driver, taking the Stage 1 AM Cup with a victory here at Le Mans. There's no better way to do it. John Malzahn at P16 ahead of Jesse Jefferson Jr., your runner-up in the AM class, and his day will come to take an AM victory as he kept Joseph Lamel honest for the entire distance, but the Photag clan drive in the end. P17 was what he could manage, and then your top 20 was rounded off by Matthew Quinton, Mark Senegal and Justin Braggan. P21 went to your third place finisher in the AM class of Braden Mellin, the Eclipse race, the esports by Skyline Designs driver, making it a double podium alongside his teammate Blamel. And then we did see what was P22 Tom Bryce for ITT West JMT, ahead of teammate Julian Jones by 1 second. And then S. Edward Irving finishing P24 for Team Bear Pope. Missed out on the AM podium today, but still at P4 in class, the P24, some good points scored there and setting up with a positive end to the first half of his season campaign. Shajee Zuhair, P25, and a bit of an anonymous race for the ITT West JMT driver, but knowing it's all he needed to do today to take that Stage 1 Prime Cup crown. Hell of Glenn Bratton with Jason Lynn, Aaron Tiggott, and then what was Aaron Lart and Carl Peterson completing your top 30. 3 laps down at the finish, Ethan Roll for Vice Motorsports. He will be classified as a race finisher after that unfortunate shunt to the barrier coming for Arnage corner in what was looking to be a absolutely brilliant charge towards the end of the race for the Vice Motorsports driver, but still plenty to learn from as he's lost out on the Stage 1 AM Cup today, but he'll know the Stage 2 AM Cup is firmly within his reach should he be able to go for it. And then Christian De Soto, one of 2 retirees for today's race, out of the circuit there with 8 laps to go and classified as a non-finisher for Kind of Fast Racing Team. And Dominique Ford, who couldn't make it to the grid due to a technical issue with the number 1 car, the privateer P33. So 33 starters, and in the end 31 finishers, with 30 of them being on the lead lap. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, Le Mans always brings some of the finest racing out in the middle of the pack racing league, regardless of the series. We saw it in the Radicals, and we saw it again here today in the LMP3s. But as we bring the first half of the season to a close, the big question is, who are our Cup champions? How has the first half of the season concluded as far as the Cup and the Drivers' Championship standings stand? Without further ado, let's show you, because the instants have been reviewed, and here we go. These will be the final points. And we start off with the Pro Cup class. And as we can see, James Logsdon in the end, winner by 3 points over Jaden Calloway. It was incredibly close between them, but today, Logsdon's consistency and the fact he hasn't finished outside the top 5 once this season, that consistency paying off as Calloway just fell slightly short. Tanner Dibble at P3 there on 158 points now, moves into P3 ahead of David Adeyeye, who in turn moves up to P4, and it's Jordan Butler who's fallen to P5 with a challenging race. Edwin Offred, albeit I say that, finishing at P2 it must be said, but indeed over the course of this season the points have not come his way so far, and Edwin Offred there in P6 with 138 points, 9, he's right on the heels of the top 5 and is giving hot pursuit. Behind him by a single point, Eric Nickens, and it does seem as though where Edwin goes, Eric follows, and then Julian Jones sits P8 ahead of Christian De Soto, with Kyle Rise completing the top 10. Jason Landry with that victory leaps to P11, best of the rest, 12 points outside the top 10 now. Head of John Lauzon with that unfortunate end to his race, albeit credit to him to getting it to the line and not giving up. And Dominique Ford and Carl Ranieri complete the Pro Championship standings. Coming to the Prime class, and here we can see Shajee Zuhair taking victory by 12 points in the Stage 1 Cup, but look at the damage done with what was in the end that P25 finish. Garrett Chavez launches his way up into P2 and is ahead of Wesley Griffith based on result count back as the two of them stand on 123 points. Matthew Quinton sits P4 ahead of Tom Bryce, who wraps up the top 5, and then Mark Senegal at P6 ahead of Justin Delano, with Justin Braggan, Matt Best and Jake Gertson completing the top 10, and Matt Best pushing himself into the top 10 as a result of the Prime Class victory today. Jermaine Warren falls out of the top 10 for the first time this season, but still stands 5 points clear of Jacob Wiley, with Nick Vader and Aaron Lahr completing the standings. And then we come on to the AM class, and as we can see here, the Stage 1 Cup goes to Joseph Lamel by 14 points, ahead of Braden Melling, and Ethan Roll falls to P3, having come in today as the championship leader based on result count back, where he falls to P3 and knows now he's got to turn it around at Interlagos in 2 weeks' time. S. Edward Irving moves to P4 with another consistent finish, 2 points ahead of Glenn Bratton as their fight for P4 continues to intensify. And then Aaron Tiggott P6 ahead of Alexander Freslone, who wasn't on the grid today. Then Carl Peterson, Jesse Jefferson Jr. and Roger Ganesh complete your top 10, with Jefferson Jr. moving into the top 10 as a result of that P18 finish and second in class. Jason C. Lin holds on to P11 by 2 points over Navra Kumar. And then we can see Tim Chong, Todd Miller and Kurt Smith wrapping up the standings. Now, as for the Teams Championship, can we give you a quick update on the Teams Championship as a result? Well, in fact, we don't quite have that available for you, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a brief moment, however, and we will be able to bring that up for you in terms of the Teams Championship standings going into what will be the mid-season break. And in fact, those will just appear on screen very shortly, and here they are. And as we can see, after what's been 4 rounds of racing, ITD West's advantage coming into today was 30 points. It's now been halved to what is 14. Ahead of DNA Motorsports, who's 2-3 today in the form of what was none other than Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble. Well, they've been able to bring the team back into the fight, and Photon Clan meanwhile have been left to P3, with Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs right behind them. ITD West JMT dropped to P5 after running so well inside the top 3, but they'll know they're not out the hunt yet, with the fact it's only 9 points between them and Photon Clan. But keep in mind that Team Bear Pope are only a further point behind, and the fight right now to be in P3 and be on the heels of the top 2 is getting ever closer. We then see in P7 Sunday GT Turtles 3 points clear of Kind of Fast Racing Team, with Vice Motorsports and Middle of the Pack Racing complete in the top 10. So second Breakfast in P11 with good points injection today. Breakfast for Dinner P12, Caboose Crew P13, and Slipstream Sloths bringing up the rear P14 on 28 points. But with that, just to confirm then, our Cup Championship winners are taking home the first $5 of the series. As we can see in the Pro class, it was number 42 from Team Bearpo of James Logsdon. In the Pro-Am class, ITD West JMT's Shajee Zuhair in the 109. And then for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, the 234 for the AM class of Joseph Lamel. Congratulations to all 3 of them on being our Stage 1 Cup winners and taking home the first monetary prize reward of the season of the $5. But of course, the big question is, can these 3 make it the double and be our Stage 2 Cup winners as well, and with it also become our overall Drivers' Champions come the end of the season? Well, that's what they'll look to try and do when we resume the race in 2 weeks from now in round number 5. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to be on the grid for a future edition of a series run by the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, the MPRL, well, to find out about the MPRL in terms of how you can be on the grid or anything else in between, why not check out our official Discord invite link available on screen, and you won't find a more welcoming and friendlier North American based community in the sim racing world, I can assure you that. And whilst the majority of the grid today is made up of drivers based on the North American continent and the South American continent, we've also got drivers from further afield around the globe, including many a European on the grid, and indeed there's never been a better time to join the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, regardless of where you hail from. If you don't want to join the Discord, perhaps you're a little bit shy, well, of course you can follow us on social media, and the best place to do so is our official Twitter, and that's at twitter.com/MOP Racing, where you can stay up to date with all the latest news regarding the MPRL. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we turn our attentions to next time. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be back to the racing after our mid-season break to kick off the Stage 2 Cup. And as we take our way from the European continent to a more international globe of racing, we'll be making our way to the Interlagos circuit or the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. And whilst the racing for round number 5 will be on none other than what will be Wednesday, the 9th of October, come and join us as it's presented as if it were live on Sunday, the 13th of October 2024, as we get the racing action back underway and we see how the story continues in the Stage 2 Cup. Until then, we have been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, have a great rest of your weekend. Remember to stay well, stay safe, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.